It is our hope that COP26 will bring big changes across the globe. But for that to happen, we need to look at the whole picture.
The circular economy is no longer a concept. It's a demonstrable solution to our overconsumption problem, and as a result, climate change. And it's happening right here in Scotland and internationally.
The conversation is really becoming global.
You know, obviously we have been talking to circular economy in the Netherlands with it, so we are actually going to do a circular gap report.
Fundamentally, we need government backup, and this is where I think the circularity bill, the Scottish circularity bill, is going to be essential to get it right.
Now, the circular economy is a great marketing term.
So whilst we might work with individual companies on their circularity plans, we also need to understand and have made efforts to understand the interrelationship between various sectors.
Absolutely, retailers have a role to inform, to encourage, to enable customers to make better and easier choices. And I think we need to take them on this journey with us, because if we don't, then we're not going to reach that circular food system nor the net zero.
So the retailers have a fundamental role here in ensuring that we move forward.
I think we've got to, as individuals, we've got to fight for the right. You know, the right not just to be consumers.
And rather than thinking about consumption as we're used to doing it, it's more about use. It's more about how do we keep those materials in use, the value of them, the embedded energy, the embedded materials. Because of course, if you keep them in use, well, what you don't waste, you don't need to replace.
That's something that we need to change at a cultural level.
But the circular economy needs the same approach. It needs to be embedded in everything that we do.
Scotland has great things to shout about from a circular economy perspective.
We're at the crossroads here, where previously the environmental aspect of doing business was left entirely out of the equation. And here we are today, where you can no longer ignore considering the longer term impacts.
You know, we can't expect individual consumers to change a whole system.
Consuming less and thinking about our consumption is a great way. Is a great way to start.
Consumption is one of the leading contributors towards climate change, particularly here in Scotland.
Begin to sort of develop further from not only looking at how to increase recycling, but how to reduce consumption and total waste generation as a whole.
So in terms of tackling consumption, I think we need to think about what we consume and how we consume it.
Our resources are running out and our mass consumption is literally costing there.
The impact on biodiversity. The less you extract, the more room you have for biodiversity. It is really a system question, and it's complex and it's daunting. But I think that breaking it down in terms of the three principles of the circular economy of eliminating, circulating, and regenerating really makes it easy to understand.
The capitalist economy trades not on happiness, but on unhappiness.
GDP growth is the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth reason why we're in the environmental crisis that we have.
93% of employees said their company's environmental performance mattered to them.
To drive successful business models in the future, then we need sustainable food systems.
20 million slices of bread every day we waste.
And 70% of Scotland's produce is grown on our patch. And so that's a challenge. We've got the James Hutton Institute that are doing some amazing things to help with innovation and all of that. But it's also the food and drink waste issue and trying to work with hospitality businesses.
Well over 30% of all food produced on the planet is thrown away.
Region that is very proud of its natural environment and are very dependent on our natural environment for some of our key sectors, food and drink and tourism, for example, and more recently renewable energy.
When an individual food manufacturer can have more carbon emissions than a country the size of the Czech Republic, then that system is broken.
88% of consumers expect brands and retailers to help them live more sustainably.
We've made things less repairable. We've given ourselves less skills to repair things, less expectations to repair them. And I think that's where it's one of the places we can start to repair the damage that change in ethic has caused us.
Our second customer was Unilever. If they changed their packaging from single-use packaging, whether it can be recycled or whatever, to reusable packaging, what a difference just one company could make.
It is not sustainable to do things the way we as a society have chosen to do them during our generation.
Can learn a lot from our young people, and maybe that'd be a great starting point actually, that we get kids to educate some of us.
If you keep doing it the same way, in 20 years you'll not be in business.
Shout loudly. The more people demand things, the more change is driven.
Blend the narrative in a constructive way.
If the shouting part is already taking, I would say connect and learn.
This thing called food is never waste.
Kind of designing out waste from the start.
Deliver outcomes, don't just talk.
The three things I hope today has stimulated ideas for all of us individually to reduce our own consumption. Two, I hope it's possibly more importantly recognise the importance that we all need to talk about consumption in this discussion around climate change and dealing with biodiversity loss and tackling inequality as well. But thirdly, possibly more important, I hope that the event today has given you the confidence to be the one to talk about consumption. So not just the importance of the need for talking about it, but the confidence to actually talk about it. Because if we don't, the fight against climate change is going to be more difficult than it really needs to be.